Hi, I'm Dr. Brooke Azie-Rentz. I've been in practice for 20 years here at Alpine Integrated Medicine.
Hi, I'm Dr. Brooke Weitz, and I've been in practice for about 20 years.
Today, we're here to talk to you about a topic that's been coming up a lot to us lately here at the clinic, which is GLPs. And we want to talk to you about what happens to your muscle, your strength, and your body composition when you're on a GLP and the pros and cons of all of that.
One of the most important things to understand about this metabolic process is that the focus is not necessarily on weight loss, it's on body composition, how we can support it, which is diet, nutrition, macros, exercise, sleep. So all of the things that we're already working on with preventative medicine and naturopathic medicine. When we're talking about muscle, it's basically your currency. It's your retirement plan. One, it's metabolically going to help you operate the best, most efficient, but also when just speaking of the more vanity aspect, muscle is shapely and you can see it, whereas fat isn't. So when people are talking about weight loss, they're really wanting to lose the fat, it's fat loss, and improve the muscle for your overall health, but also so that you have the look you're desiring.
To add on to that, from a medical perspective, there's been a lot of research on as we age, the more muscle you have, the more protective it is from a cardiovascular standpoint, a diabetic standpoint, and then also just the stronger we are, the less likely we are to fall and then have a hip fracture. And we know that people that break their hip, there's a 4-fold increase in mortality with that. So muscle is not just vanity, it's also overall health.
So there's a big stigma surrounding the GLP-1 specifically, not as much the other peptides, and this is a specific peptide that we do use and that's very popular, but it's one of many. And I liken it to driving a car. You might have power steering, but you still need to drive the car. There's other pieces in place that you still have to have. It's not a crutch, it's a tool. Just like wearing glasses as your eyesight's decreasing. It's something we naturally make, but we decrease the production of as we age. So this is a boost, just like any other type boost we might add in the medical setting. If it's done properly and it's done with medical supervision, the product is clean and tested, then it's an incredible tool to have an incredibly improved body composition and longevity.
And with that, since you're talking about it as a tool and comparing it to other disease, if someone had cardiovascular disease, high cholesterol or blood pressure, and they were put on a medication for that, they would be expected to go to their doctor and get checked in to see if that medication was working properly. And if they were having side effects with certain medications for cholesterol, there's muscle pain that can be a side effect or memory loss. And if that was happening, people would change that medication, right? Or they would say, this is why it's happening. And so I think, again, that stigma, this is just like another disease. People shouldn't be embarrassed if they need help beyond what we've all tried with weight loss. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that are in this position are in their middle ages, 40s and 50s. And so we're all products of the 70s and 80s where this calories in, calories out, and you kind of
fat,
yeah,
snack well, yes, all of that.
Yeah, and you kind of are what you eat, right? And I think that so many people of that age group have been told that for so long that there is this stigma that, I've done this to myself, but there is, the cravings that you have, the food noise that we talk about that GLPs really help with can really help people not feel that way. And then that they see results not because they're embarrassed and not because they're eating emotionally. They're actually taking care of some of those things that they couldn't control before. Kind of like glasses. You can't control that your eyes are getting worse. You just need help.
Another thing that I wanted to mention that Dr. Brooke brought up is that it can help for so many other things aside from just body composition. We're seeing lipids improving. We're seeing inflammation markers improving. We're seeing blood glucose regulation. So all of these things are measurable on labs, and we're seeing this in addition to the body composition changes that maybe someone would initially go on there for. We're seeing it significantly helping with multiple other metabolic factors that are some of the ones that are the highest risk for mortality. So there's also studies coming up that we'll see with dementia prevention as well, which is going to be revolutionary once we get that data back. So there's a lot of other aspects that the GLP-1 specifically are helping with that we're seeing that are making people overall healthy. Well, one of the things that I'm looking for when we're deciding where our dosing pattern needs to go and how we're changing it and then how we're maintaining it, it really depends on very specific markers that I'm testing. For example, the body fat percent versus the visceral fat versus the muscle mass. And we're also looking at lipids and inflammatory markers. So those are things we're all monitoring. Where I see it go sideways is when people are ordering it through the mail and they're dosing themselves and they're not being monitored. And so they're not able to, they're using their eyes to decide what they think looks good instead of the actual hard data measurements that are something that we're doing with every patient we monitor. We're not allowing people to just order and choose what other medication is that the case for. So it's a little bit, you have to be very careful. One of the downsides I see often is because it does help so much with the food noise, people are not eating proper nutrient dense foods when they eat. It has to count. When you eat, you have to have that nutrient dense meal with the right macros, or you will start seeing things like muscle loss, or you might start seeing hair loss if you're not getting your nutrients. So those are some things I do see commonly, and you might have heard of Ozempic butt or Ozempic face. That's fat loss in the wrong place or muscle loss in the wrong place. So those are things I'm constantly talking about is diet and the macros for that person, and they're getting the nutrients they need for their body to operate optimally.
Some of the studies and some of the numbers is they do talk about with these GLPs, average in the United States that I read recently was about 25 to 35% muscle loss when you're losing that weight. We here at AIM, I will say that I'll tolerate a 25% muscle loss, but if we're seeing that, there's a problem. Someone's not lifting heavy enough, they're not eating enough protein, things like that. One of the tools that we have here is BTL's EMSCULPT NEO. And the EMSCULPT NEO, they actually just came out with a study showing that people that were on GLPs alone, yes, they lost weight. That's why everyone's on them, but they also lost muscle. And the study that they did showed people on GLPs and people are on GLPs plus doing the EMSCULPT NEO on their abdomen. And what they saw is those people still lost weight, but they actually gained muscle during it and they didn't lose that. And so what that ultimately means is an increase in someone's skeletal muscle, which means that their body fat goes down and their percent body fat will look much different when you just lose weight and lose fat versus losing weight and gaining muscle. You'll actually have a way better body composition percentage with that numbers. So, things that we're losing we can't control is muscle. We talked about Ozempic face and Ozempic butt. What you're not hearing about is things that are a little bit more medical. So we're starting to see people losing their vision, people are losing their hearing, and people are getting incontinent because unfortunately we can't control where you lose your muscle from. So if those things are happening, you're on too high a dose, you're not working out or eating properly, or you're going too fast. Like I said, here at AIM, we want people to lose 3 to 5 pounds per month. If you're doing it on your own at home through one of these mail orders, you can lose 10, 20 pounds in a month, but that can cause pancreatitis, gallbladder dysfunction, and you're starting to see people that have been doing that have really long-term health consequences from losing that weight, not to mention they're probably gaining the weight back when they have to stop the medication because they did it improperly. Here, we're seeing when people are going down on the medication or off the medication, they're able to maintain because we've learned better life habits. We've gotten into better routines as far as eating and exercise. And just overall, our aim is not just to have people lose weight. Our aim is to have people have a better quality of life and kind of beating the odds when it comes to aging. So we talked a lot about how our body changes when we're on a GLP and we can gain muscle, but we can lose muscle on the GLP and we want to try and maintain that muscle. But something we didn't talk about is what happens to our skin. Right? Our skin on our face, our skin on our stomach when we lose that weight. And those are things that, people definitely see our face, but other areas like the stomach, that's where the EMSCULPT NEO can help. But also on the face, the BTL company does have products that can be used for the face to help with laxity, sagging, also to increase collagen and hyaluronic acid, because obviously those things are going to go down as we lose fat and muscle in places, and we do have muscle in the face. But if people want to learn more about this, we do have an event coming up on June 4th. We have our BTL bus is coming, and with the bus, we're going to have all of our BTL equipment, our ExoMind, our EMSCULPT NEO, our Exion, our EMFACE, and our EMSELLA. And so with all of that, you can come on June 4th. We're selling packages that have to do with face, mind, and body that have great deals involved. And it's also an opportunity opportunity to ask questions to myself or Dr. Brooke here, our other team members who do this all the time. We're going to have representatives from BTL there, and we're going to have great deals happening. So you're going to be able to ask questions, learn, and also we'll be giving demos. So if you wanted to try one of these machines and see if it's actually right for you, you can get a free demo and see what it feels like, because nothing tells you what these machines feel like than getting on them yourself.